The Moscow Murders, a tragic tale of loss, mystery, and the search for justice. On November 13, 2022, the quiet college town of Moscow, Idaho, was forever marked by a tragic event that left the community and the nation reeling. 4 young lives, Kaylee Goncalves, Madison Mogen, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin, were taken in a brutal and senseless act of violence that has raised more questions than answers. The murders of these University of Idaho students shook the local community, and the investigation that followed has become one of the most high-profile and mysterious criminal cases in recent memory. This video explores the details of the Moscow murders, the ongoing investigation, the family's relentless pursuit of justice, and what lies ahead as the trial of Bryan Kohberger, the accused killer, begins. As we dive deeper into this story, we will examine the victims' lives, the chilling crime scene, the police investigation, and the potential motivations behind the murders, all while reflecting on the profound impact this tragedy has had on everyone involved. The 4 victims of this brutal attack were more than just students. They were vibrant individuals with dreams, aspirations, and futures cut short by a senseless act of violence. Each victim was at the beginning of their adult lives, full of hope and potential. Kaylee Goncalves, 21, was a senior at the University of Idaho who had planned to graduate early and move to Austin, Texas, for a marketing job. She was known for her adventurous spirit and outgoing personality. Kaylee was always the life of the party, quick to make friends and spread positivity wherever she went. She had dreams of exploring the world and making a difference in the marketing world. Madison Mogen, 21, was Kaylee's best friend since childhood. Maddie was a senior majoring in marketing and was described by everyone who knew her as kind-hearted, generous, and full of life. She had always been a friend who brought joy to those around her, always making an effort to maintain long-lasting friendships and spread kindness to others. Maddie was excited for graduation and the opportunities that lay ahead of her. Xana Kernodle, 20, was a junior at the University of Idaho, studying marketing. Xana had a passion for animals and was known for her independent spirit and her ability to brighten any room she walked into. She was beginning a new chapter in her life, having recently started dating Ethan Chapin. Her close-knit relationship with Ethan brought her a sense of stability and happiness in her college years. Ethan Chapin, 20, was one of 3 triplets and was studying at the University of Idaho alongside his siblings. Ethan was known for his infectious smile, his kindness, and his ability to make anyone around him laugh. A dedicated basketball player in high school, Ethan had always been the life of the party. He had a bright future ahead of him, and his family deeply appreciated the time they had spent together before his tragic death. These 4 students were more than just victims. They were children, siblings, and friends. Their loss left a gaping hole in the hearts of those who loved them. The night of November 12, 2022 started like any other. The 4 victims enjoyed a night out, socializing and unwinding after a busy week. By 2 a.m., they were back at their off-campus house on King Road in Moscow, Idaho, preparing to sleep. But at around 4 a.m., something unimaginable happened. The crime scene was a grisly testament to the brutality of the attack. According to law enforcement, the killer entered the home while the victims slept, stabbing them with a large knife. Kaylee and Maddie, who were the best of friends, were found in the same bed on the 3rd floor, their lives tragically taken together. Xana and Ethan, who were staying in a room on the 2nd floor, met the same violent fate. A 5th roommate, Dylan Mortensen, was lucky enough to survive the attack. She was awake around 4 a.m. and heard strange noises from the floor above. At one point, she heard what she thought was crying and a male voice that said, "It's okay, I'm going to help you." When Dylan looked out of her bedroom, she saw a man dressed in black and wearing a mask, walking past her toward the back of the house. She locked herself in her room, and in the chaos that followed, no one called 911 for over 7 hours. By the time the authorities were notified, it was already too late. The 4 victims were discovered, stabbed to death in 2 bedrooms. After the murders, the Moscow Police Department launched an intense investigation. The case remained unsolved for weeks, with over 19,000 tips from the public. Then the breakthrough came. Surveillance footage showed a white Hyundai Elantra repeatedly circling the victim's house in the early morning hours, including at 4:04 a.m., when it did a 3-point turn just outside the house. This footage, paired with cell phone tower data and other evidence, pointed investigators toward Bryan Kohberger, a 28-year-old criminology PhD student at Washington State University, located just a few miles away in Pullman, Washington. At first, Kohberger wasn't a suspect, but the investigation began to focus on him after DNA was found on a knife sheath discarded at the crime scene. The sheath was found near Madison Mogen, and DNA analysis later confirmed that Kohberger's DNA matched. The police also tracked Kohberger's movements using cell phone tower data, which showed that his phone had been near the crime scene multiple times in the months leading up to the murders. In late December 2022, Kohberger returned home to Pennsylvania for the holidays. Investigators took this opportunity to gather more evidence. They used genetic genealogy to trace Kohberger's family tree and confirm his identity by matching DNA found in trash outside his parents' house. This, along with surveillance footage from his car and phone records, led to Kohberger's arrest on December 30th, 2022. Despite the overwhelming evidence, the motive behind the murders remains unclear. Kohberger's defense has suggested that he was simply driving alone that night and that his presence near the scene of the crime was a coincidence. However, Kohberger's fascination with criminology, as well as his history of online posts discussing criminal behavior, raises questions about his true motives. Some experts speculate that his obsession with criminal behavior may have influenced his actions, but the prosecution has yet to provide a concrete motive for the crime. The trial of Bryan Kohberger is set to begin on August 11, 2025, and is expected to last several months. One of the first major decisions was to move the trial out of Latah County to Boise, citing concerns that media coverage might affect the fairness of the trial. The defense has already indicated that they will challenge the prosecution's evidence, especially the DNA match, phone records, and surveillance footage. They have also questioned the validity of the cell phone data, suggesting that it may not be reliable enough to link Kohberger directly to the crime scene. The lack of a clear motive is likely to be a key point of contention. Kohberger's defense team will likely argue that while the evidence is compelling, it does not prove beyond a reasonable doubt that he was responsible for the murders. In the wake of this tragedy, the families of Kaylee, Madison, Xana, and Ethan have shown immense strength. Kaylee's family in particular has taken a proactive approach in seeking justice. Despite the gag order imposed on the case, the Goncalves family did their own investigation. They uncovered crucial evidence, such as a rideshare driver's testimony confirming the time Kaylee and Maddie returned home, and digital evidence suggesting that Kohberger had been following the victims on social media. The Goncalves family has also launched a foundation in Kaylee's honor, and has continued to push for transparency in the case. Their efforts to uncover information and demand justice for their daughter's death have been both inspiring and heartbreaking. The murders of Kaylee, Maddie, Xana, and Ethan remain one of the most heart-wrenching tragedies of recent years. Their families are still seeking answers and justice for their lost loved ones. As Kohberger's trial looms, the search for justice continues. The case highlights the profound impact of violent crime on families and communities, and the complexities of the legal process. While the search for the truth may eventually lead to a conviction, the families of the victims will never recover the lives of their beloved children. They will continue to fight for justice, ensuring that the memories of Kaylee, Maddie, Xana, and Ethan live on. The quest for closure is not over, but the resilience of the families and the community shows that even in the face of unimaginable loss, the search for truth and justice can provide a path toward healing. Let us hope that this tragic chapter ends with justice for the victims and their families, and that the world never forgets the lives that were lost far too soon.